live? Damn. What's up, boys?
High fives all the way around. That's how we do it here.
All right. Damn.
This feels weird. It feels weird without you actually messing with the computer at the same time.
I like this.
Hands free.
Things are changing. Things are changing. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Cigar Talk Live for now, soon to rebrand. This is our Tuesday get-together where you beautiful people on that side of the lens get to sit and have a cigar with those beautiful people on this side of the lens. Tonight, we have a true special guest. Tonight, I know many of you people have interacted and fallen in love with the end result of the creations of this man to the right side, many generations in the making.
Thank you.
Tonight, we have the owner of Gran Habano Cigars, George Rico. What's up, George?
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Man.
Great place. See what you guys are doing here. I love it.
And we are doing it in a different place. We are not on the couches this week. We are in the new public lounge. So you got a little quick nickel tour there from Pops.
Yeah, a great 10-cent tour.
10 cents.
Whoa, don't overpay for that.
He overpaid.
One thing I'm going to ask on the production from the production team here, because we actually have a production team now, is if you wouldn't mind just checking the Cigars and Guns Insta. It looks like it took a photo and didn't go live. So if you wouldn't mind just helping with that, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
But be sure to ask questions, comment, like, share, do all the things. And if you do have a question that is worthy, we will give the power to our esteemed producer this evening. Evan will shout out if he thinks one's good enough. That should work, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely, for sure.
Should we start the show?
Start the show, or do you want to start it?
Hey,
I think you said start.
where are you at?
Start the show.
I'm right here.
Well, here's the wet ones, boys.
Yeah.
Salud.
Salute.
Cheers.
Cheers.
George, what an
We're
honor.
not chugging this one. Already.
Cheers to y'all. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining tonight.
Now the difficult selection is which Gran Habano cigar to smoke this evening. I'll go with the newest, El Enemigo.
Great start. Great cigar. Made out of Dominican, the first cigar that we've ever made out of Dominican Republic. So I definitely recommend it.
It's something that aside from the cigar stuff, because we won't get too much, but I think it tells a great story.
Yes.
Right? I think, and your reason behind it. And I just gained so much respect for what your mentality was. What was your mentality when it came to blending and creating this cigar different than usual?
Well, with this, I really want to go outside of the factory and kind of create a product that really represents what we do at our factory, but at another factory, utilizing different tobaccos from another factory. And I thought that was a unique way to sort of showcase my blending capabilities using someone else's tobacco. So that was the story behind that. It also tells the story of the El Enemigo, the enemy out there, and how you conquer that. So, overall, I think it's a great project. I'm very happy with it. The response has been phenomenal. So I hope you enjoy it tonight.
Oh, I've enjoyed this many a time.
Oh, yeah.
No. I'm going to continue to enjoy this tonight. No, I have just, ever since Zulu, Connecticut, that and the Toro, it just changed. I think you and I are probably similar in that realm. It just changed the way we look at cigars in general.
Okay.
It's just it's everything you want. It's everything you want. Or let me just rephrase it. It's everything I want.
It's everything I want, too. I'll go through boxes, and it's like, I finished yet another box of the Black Label Zulu.
Yeah, the Black Label Zulu
Love
with the
it.
Connecticut wrapper. It's a great
incredible.
cigar.
It's
incredible.
Morning,
It's a cigar,
noon, evening.
And that's
all
what,
day long.
I'm smoking one of them because it's one of those cigars. I've smoked 3 cigars already today, and I go to this one, it just finishes really well.
It does.
It doesn't build
really
up too much
does.
on a palate. It just gives you that nuances that you're looking for.
What is Zulu? What's the significance behind that?
Well, the Zulu was originally a project that I started late 2010s or early 2010s, late 2000s. And I wanted to create something that, signified the project that I originally was creating, which was the original iteration of the Zulu, which was, with the street art, with the child soldiers representing that message of like kids that were being, used for as child soldiers. So bringing that message onto it, and I thought bringing the name of Zulu represented that strength that comes behind with the brand as well. So that was kind of one of the things I was looking forward to.
And that's part of your kind of sub brand STK, right?
Yeah. So
what does that? I can't remember what that
STK stands for Stay True Kid. It's just sort of something I tell myself that, I make cigars. I should always stay focused to what I do. And it just keeps me grounded. So I thought, utilizing that as the main brand or sub-brand to all my unique projects, the limited edition projects that I make, the SDK. And, I also always pair it with a charity when I come out with a project with the SDK. So Save the Kids as well. So it's kind of one of those things that plays on words.
Oh, nice.
So,
Cool. Man, that's cool.
That. Yeah.
That's cool. Going back to the original thought was el enemigo, right? The enemy. It's really interesting. I think that could be a good kickoff point. Is it something? Was there an experience that you felt like you had enemies? Did you feel like? Will you just talk about that?
I mean, for me, the sense of changing the direction of my company and the projects that I develop, and how we could kind of evolve in bringing products that I think are unique and different within our own portfolio. So it was that inner enemy, essentially, of like changing yourself, evolving, and what you always see yourself as just creating and doing this and staying focused to just what you're used to, and then how do you go against yourself and essentially just focusing and going in a different direction. So that's the whole process of the El Enemigo. A lot of people, and then the story, of course, I love the Iliad, and then that's a beautiful artwork from a vase that you'll find in a museum in London, which is Hector fighting Achilles. So that's what that represents as well. So it all ties in a story.
Nice.
That's
So
awesome.
I knew I
names
should
of
have
every
paid attention
cigar.
to history.
So every cigar that I make it always tells a little story, and that's with the names of the sizes and all these things that you see out there. So
do you feel like in this moment? And I'm sorry, please.
I was gonna say, if we read books, we probably know that, but we don't read.
No.
Valid point. Valid point.
Books are for suckers. Speaking of family, I know you're going in a direction, but we have kind of a level of brand owners that are family. And
Luciano's one of them, and
Luciano,
I think he's in right now.
Luciano has hopped in.
Great.
So as you're
Do you have a confidence monitor there on your?
I do.
Thigh? Okay.
I just want to monitor what's happening. But if there's, if we were a date matching service, if there's two people that we need to put together in the same room with a stack of tobacco,
We were just talking about that.
We were just talking about that.
Luciano and George for sure. And you guys, they met the last
last
time.
year when I was here for the
When we
event.
did
that's
the
right,
event
it was
in
the same
back,
night.
you were out in the front,
Yeah.
and you guys got together. So, but yeah, I think you guys could do some really cool things with the Nicaraguan-based
Okay.
cigar.
Yeah, imagine.
It's something that I could definitely work with. I mean, Nicaraguan tobacco for me is one of the best tobaccos in the world. I mean, we farm in Jalapa, and I think it's one of the best tobaccos that you can find out there. So utilizing that, what they do in Esteli and Condega, I farm there as well. So it's kind of one of those things that I love the tobacco from Nicaragua. So it's always fun to see what other people are able to do with the tobaccos that they're growing or acquiring. So it's good.
Where I think you two line eye to eye, especially in our world, is it's easy to get really nerdy and then lose the other 99% of the population. But I think there are stories that can be told in your artwork and your blending, and that's what I love about you is, and with Luch as well, is we can get real nerdy with tobacco.
Yeah.
But you can also put it into plain English for people.
Yeah.
And it's about the story more than it is about the nuts and bolts.
Well, I mean, it represents all the hard effort that goes into utilizing tobaccos. People might see it as something that's just a leaf. I see it more as a artwork, a muse to create something with. So that's the way I look at it.
Luciano is paying a very, very nice compliment and mentioned that your father, Guillermo, just recently bought some tobacco from him.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So, great. But he says that you grow great tobacco in Honduras and Jalapa.
Yeah.
So coming from him,
well,
not a bad deal.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good vibes all around.
I needed feeling good about
I
this.
can't tell you how much I needed this with our conversation. This is a mini counseling session over here about an hour ago. So no, it's really unique because when you find yourself in that pivotal change, that reinventing yourself, it's literally where we're standing right now.
Yeah.
And you have that inner enemy where you want to fight that little bitch that was yourself yesterday, who was afraid of what if they do this or what if they think that. But SDK, so much of that plays
it's
into
like trying to stay grounded, but at the same time, you're your worst enemy at times. because you want to be able to do the things that are comfortable for you, but then you have to change things in order to be successful. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Do you feel like that sometimes?
I fight demons, and doubt and impatience are the two things that I fight. And the interesting thing is when we started industrial, we just didn't know. We didn't know if people were going to accept what we were doing. We knew that we were going to deliver a level of service that was going to be unmatched, but we didn't know if people were going to pay for it. And so now as we get ready to invest a ton of money into this, it's the easiest investment I've ever made, because it's been proven, but now the impatience is what's wearing on me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just something I have to deal with. But no, the doubt, there was no doubt when I saw what Ale and Brandon and Begley had put together for the design and the renderings, man, all the confidence in the world. It's just amazing how it changes.
I'm glad you're comfy about it, though. That's good. Because I
have no doubt in you guys. I mean, that's pretty easy to invest into our family.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just raised us right in that degree. It's just because you create, and I was talking about this just this last week when we sat up and had a meeting in your office. It was at a certain point, you're that band that has good music and people dig and they can tell their friends about it and they expect it. But at a certain point, that band has to either grow or die. And we're at that first real phase of growth. Mm-hmm. And it's very easy to focus on, well, maybe our new music, those few people are not going to dig the new music. But the band still has to continue to grow. As long as they, stay true to themselves, hopefully, then it goes. But there is that fear of the unknown equally from our guest perspective and our own perspective is, well, this is all going to change, but it's very easy to go and tailor all of your efforts at who you were versus focusing on what you can now provide.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, when you look at yourself and you're trying to evolve, you're always fearful of failing, especially when you've already accomplished something. But the reality is that you should never be fearful of what you could accomplish if you're already in a position of having accomplished something. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I look at it as well. Mm-hmm. So the fear is a failure. It should be a fear they should never fear. That's the way I look at it. It's just that you should always continue to grow and push yourself going forward.
Yeah. Which goes to your life because you're, especially in this phase of life where you're at. Yeah. How would you say what we're talking about translates to what you're doing?
So last week during our show, we talked a little bit about anxiety, and then I had listened to a podcast, the one we were talking about earlier, and whatever guest that was that I was listening to talked about, a lot of people are talking about anxiety and this, this and that, and how they react to it. And the guy on the show, he just said basically anxiety is just your adrenaline getting out and showing you like, this is what you need to do. This is part of you, and embrace it and work towards that goal, whatever you're trying to do. It's not anxiety, it's adrenaline, and it's just you're thinking of it the wrong way. And I took that as, wow. And not that I suffer from anxiety, but many people are. Mm-hmm. But it was just one of those things where it kind of resonated, and it was like, I like that.
It's really interesting because we've spoken about Nick a number of times, but one of the positive things that he gave to me was he always told me that you only get nervous for the big good moments. You never get nervous about the subpar or the things that are mundane. Yeah. But those moments of being nervous are exciting. That's why I like getting a little bit nervous before we do this show. Yep. Because you don't know what's going to happen, but you embrace it and you hope that our guest has a good experience and those who are watching take something from it. But I think as long as you can embrace that anxiety, and really catapult that and make that into something positive.
But that's an interesting thought, though, because Begley suffers from anxiety that triggers panic attacks, which is debilitating. I mean, it's horrible. Sure. But if you think about it, if you're not used to an adrenaline rush, you don't know how to deal with it.
What do you do?
I raced motorcycles for 10 years. The nerves were just crazy until the gate dropped. And then you're going, oh shit, I'm in it now. Let's go. Yeah. And then you get over it. But I think I've always been able to deal with that real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't. So I think she feels that rush coming, not realizing that it's adrenaline. She just thinks it's a panic attack coming on. So then it flips to fear instead of embrace. So that I'm going to definitely talk to her about that.
Yeah.
And I'd like to have that podcast, because I think sometimes it's just a matter of conditioning your brain so that you just, don't let it take you and drag you down the street.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to condition yourself by doing it often, right?
Yeah.
And you see it in
Yeah, I mean, you have to
cigar
deal
world.
with the coping of dealing with anxiety. I think that's a very hard thing to do, because sometimes people don't know the mechanisms in order for you to be able to do that. So
The triggers,
you have to teach yourself.
I know you do Ironman and you do these crazy, stupid things.
Yeah.
And there's nothing smart about that, by the way. Just understand. But you probably have that adrenaline, you have the nerves before the race starts, then you get going. But then you also have to deal with what's happening to your body.
Yeah, I mean,
and how do you deal with that?
Well, for me, as I'm going through the process of a race or something that I'm trying to compete in, I'm always very competitive to begin with of what people are doing out there, but I'm always constantly checking my body to see if I'm do I need to slow down? Do I need to pace myself? How is my foot and my ankles dealing with that scenario? So, but it's all really kind of through your training. And that's always, it comes down to your
Mind
training.
over matter type of stuff.
And how you focus and your strength and how your brain can really propel you to do anything. So that's very important.
It's something that's very important. I wanted to talk to you about this because we have tornado drills we call pineapples. I have 3 little kids, and Alessia is cognizant enough to understand what a tornado is. The others, they're dumb as shit, but they're good kids. But
They'll get there.
But we started tactical training this week.
Cool.
We started, mango means they are either going under their cabinet in their bathroom or they're going in the closet. Daddy's going to get the firearm and we're going to clear.
Wow.
And the first time it happened, Alessia tightened up and she was just so nervous and she started crying because she understood what this means. That means someone's in the house and Daddy needs to run through his steps. And to your point, and both to your guys' point, I think piggybacking was all last week we were going mango. And the same thing with pineapple, with the tornado drill. They stopped being scared. We said, okay, mango. And they knew where to go, where they were in the house, and we'll continue to do this. And we got to the end and we said, see, that wasn't scary, right? Just go through our plan. Let's go through our training. So that way, if anything ever happens, we're not going to be scared. We just need to go through the plan and we have that together. Same thing I would imagine on the triathlon.
Yeah.
I know my pace, I know my body.
Yeah. You have to condition not only your body, but your mind in order to be able to understand what you need to do. So either give a little bit more or take back and just, pace yourself. It's interesting.
What would you say the percentages mind over matter is? Because you could probably do an Ironman easily.
I highly doubt that.
Well, because your physicality.
You'll be amazed. Anybody could do it if they really put their mind to it. Ultimately, it doesn't necessarily mean it's where you want to finish that ultimately pushes you. But at the end of the day, anybody could do it if you just pace yourself. So it's not something that, anybody could swim, anybody could ride a bike, and anybody could run. Now, do you want to finish at 5 hours or do you want to finish at 8 hours? That's really where you'll be amazed where you start at 8 and with your training and dedication, you could be at that 5 hour finish. You could even take it depending on your age group or whatever you're doing right now.
Right.
You could go sub 5. For me, going 5 would be excellent for a half Ironman as an example.
Wow.
But that's my target goal. It's going to take years for that, but it's just staying with it.
Oh, yeah. It's so
Half Ironman, by the way, means half crazy.
Oh, no, it's
Full
still
Ironman
full crazy.
Yeah.
It's still full crazy.
Yeah. There's not.
It's 70.3, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's 70.3 mile swim.
So it's a mile swim, 56 on a bike, and then a half marathon at the end.
I'm
Just your
I'm out
transition.
already.
Tap it
I mean,
off.
you're saying that.
No,
I'm out.
I got my leg just cramped up.
But you'll be amazed. Anybody could do it if they really want to accomplish it.
Yeah, it is. So to your question is, what is more important, the physical or what percentage is it physical versus mental? It sounds like basically,
George answered it. Yeah.
Well, I think
Basically
really
100%,
mental is
yeah.
always the most important because it could propel you to do your training. And that dedication all comes from your brain. I mean, for you to get up 4 a.m, go out there and do it, and then just continue to push yourself, eventually your body will respond to whatever you're asking for it to do.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's all mental. It's all within yourself, what you want to do.
it's all training. It's
And
all training.
it transfers over to parts of your life where work, family, it's just, it's like anything else, karate, jiu-jitsu, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
You know what's one thing we should talk about too that I think is also incredibly important for longevity is overtraining
Yeah,
and not recovering.
yeah, that's one.
That translates to life, right?
Yeah. You definitely. I think with overtraining, your body will eventually need it. At one point, it will give up. So you have to understand that you have to recover. You have to be able to feed yourself correctly, rest correctly. If not, you'll injure yourself. And as someone in my 40s that wants to not get an injury because it's going to be 6-7 months out, you can't recuperate like a 20-year-old. So
Right.
it's a little different.
Do you see that in your life as now having a better relationship with understanding not overtraining? Because I know you beat yourself to death, but are you finding times to recuperate your mind and your soul and whatever?
Well, I mean, my physical exercise is just playing golf once a week. So, but I can usually tell on the first tee what my week was like, because if it was hell and a half, then on the first tee, I'm hitting something and it isn't going to be the fairway. It's going to be somebody's house. So, so I can definitely, if I don't get that rest, if I don't just let my brain let go, because it's amazing. Your physical body's one thing, but it's your brain. Just shutting that off and giving it a break. It's crazy. I just bought that software Motion, and it uses AI, and you basically just start plugging in all your shit, right?
Yep.
Start plugging it in, and then the AI goes out and schedules your day for you.
Wow.
And after about 45 minutes, even the AI was going, dude, you need to just slow down a minute. I mean, when the computer is sitting there going, I'm pushing shit out 4 weeks now because there is no more time. But you bring it on yourself.
Yeah,
You're just going to do it, and it's no different than I'm going to get on my bike and ride 56 miles today. At some point your brain is going, this is a really bad idea.
Yeah, that's right. We have Z from Sacramento checking in. Special hello to you, George.
The great guy out there from Sacramento.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Love his cigar shop. People should stop by and check it out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tobacco Road. If you're out in Sacramento, check out Tobacco Road.
He's a great guy. He loves soccer. So.
Soccer.
So, we have the World Soccer Hall of Fame right over here.
Really?
Yeah, just like on the other end of the parking lot down here.
I gotta make sure I stop there tomorrow. We should go there tomorrow.
It's got Pele in the front with the big brass statue and stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. In Dallas, I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll have some FIFA World Cup here.
Yep.
In a couple of years.
A couple of years. We'll be here. Yeah. That's good. Dallas is getting games.
Yep, Dallas is getting games.
I didn't know that. That's good.
Yeah, I can. For one time in my life, I can give a fuck about soccer. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. But he gets F1 in a couple
next
of weeks.
week.
Yeah,
This weekend. This weekend.
Is it this weekend?
This weekend on Sunday. So I'm hoping to go.
My friend, my dear friend, races Porsches, and he gets to race in the race before the F1 races.
Oh, hold it.
I am so jealous.
He's racing the track?
Yeah.
Really?
The race before with
GT3?
150,000 people.
What?
Yeah.
You were shitting.
Yeah, the Porsche Cup race is before the F1 race, and he gets to race.
Scott lives a life, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you what.
Oh, he lives a life.
Yeah,
there are a lot of things to be jealous with, Scott. I mean, he's a tremendous guy.
Yeah,
tremendous guy.
Wow.
Now it's interesting. I want to ask this because you are. Is it the 4th or 5th generation?
I'm 4th generation tobacco farmer and 3rd generation cigar maker.
Do you feel handcuffed by your legacy?
No, not at all. I think I'm adding to the legacy. The idea that my son and my daughter eventually take over, I hope that they do. It's the legacy that I'm going to leave them and hopefully they don't feel the same. They feel the passion that I have for cigar making, and they can continue that going forward. So I'm not handcuffed at all. I think I'm adding to my legacy.
So you didn't
and my
feel
family's
the pressure?
legacy. No, I never felt the pressure. I mean, you know, coming to the U.S. when we first started, it was a small company, hard and effort, and you know, we just gave it all our all. So it was never one of those things where it was more fearful of failure. Because you wanted to accomplish so much, and I think we got into that level. But overall, we continue to want to, you know, go forward and move up and those things. But I've never been handcuffed at all. I think, you know, it's helped my family, and I think that's what drives me. My father, my mother, we all live from tobacco. We all live from this. So you know, it's not at all. I think I'm contributing to it.
Well, I agree.
How old's your son?
My son's 22.
Okay.
So
is he? Do you have him on the path? Is he on the sidewalk?
So right
heading your
now
direction?
he's on the path of he's in the Air Force. So he signed up for 6 years. So he's on that path of go suffer somewhere else, and then eventually he comes and you know, learn the experiences of life somewhere else. Because being, you know, I've never felt that way, and I was never treated that way of like just going through the family business and being spoiled and any of those things. I just have to work. I was a kid working at the warehouse, helping out. And then it gave me a passion at that point in time. And hopefully he could understand that, not working at our business, but eventually coming in and appreciating what he's done somewhere else and then coming and contributing. So very cool.
He's going to have just a great foundation, and he's going to add to your family business.
And that's what we're hoping
anything,
for. Yeah. So it's a good thing. And then my daughter's 11, so you know, she's on a path to, you know, management, hopefully, because she dictates.
So there it is.
Just teach her how to read the books. We'll have the CEO and CFO somewhere in there.
Teach her to do the books.
Awesome.
It's kind of a scary thing because we're in the first generation of setting up, hopefully, a generational business.
Yeah.
But what you said is just so infectious, which is passion, I think itself is infectious.
Yeah.
And you get to some of those generational businesses that
they fail because they never experience that initial growth of the business, putting in the struggles. You know, when you get everything, I feel sometimes you're disconnected from how much effort you need to put in, how much you should respect what the ones before you have done. So that's the way I look at it.
Isn't it interesting how many people, we see it a lot on the cigar shop side of things, how many guys that have had success someplace else, maybe they're an attorney or something, they've made some money in another industry, they like cigars, so they decide, I'm going to get in the cigar business. They don't understand, this is not the easiest business in the world to be in. And it is.
You can make it the easiest.
Well,
you can make it the easiest.
You can make it hard on yourself, or make it easy. Depending on how, the type of, you know, business that you run. Eventually, your experience. That's
I think when you're as focused on what we focus on, I think about guys that are just getting in it, and it feels like it's a hobby. It feels like it's just, you know, I'm gonna smoke cigars anyway, so I might as well have a place. I think that attitude is just destined to fail.
Well, yeah, because they don't really have. They probably come from you know, as an attorney, maybe you have a firm, you're running an office, but it doesn't translate to maybe at your end. What you're describing is more retail, which is totally different. You know, you're dealing with sort of who's walking through the door, how do you treat them, the service that you're providing. So it's a totally different scenario.
It's the hospitality.
Yeah.
Right? It's that family feel. Whenever I explain industrial cigar company, where people ask where I smoke cigars, and then I'll explain, you know, it's a place in Frisco, but as soon as you walk in, you're family from day one. And it's like, the feedback I get was like, you're right. I walked in, they remembered who I was, they know me, and it's like, told you.
And I hope so.
That's excellent.
I hope so.
Speaks to what you guys are doing here. So I
it
love
speaks
it.
to our
100%.
it speaks to the community and to the team as well.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, everyone who throws a red and a name badge on, and even those who don't have a red and a name tag. We have a production team right now. Wayne doesn't work here. Wayne is just here to help set up. The guy who's setting this up, Ron has been helping me clean chairs since 2017 at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's I think you're right. It is. That's how I describe it, Wayne, is it's Cheers, but with cigars.
Awesome.
And I hope it feels that way. I hope it feels like a family environment.
If Chris is watching, he's another one.
100%.
And I'll tell you, I think there was
100%.
we did a couple weeks ago, we did a staff appreciation night. We always do a member appreciation night, but we did a staff appreciation. Took them all to the restaurant. They brought their spouses. Then we closed the store and we came in. But Andrew, who's head of membership, sent out a deal, says, hey guys, we're closing the store. We're going to take care of us, our family is going to take care of them like they take care of you. We had 14 members say, I want to come up and do that. Wow. And we had people that were up here serving them drinks and emptying their ashtrays. And they were customers that just appreciated what the service that they've received and wanted to reciprocate.
Who does that?
Wow, that's touching.
It's really cool.
That's cool.
It's really cool.
That's like going to your favorite restaurant and saying, hey, we're going to have a
upside down night.
Yeah. And as you're a client, but now you're going to serve our employees.
The server or the cook.
I'm out. No, I'm
that's
not,
crazy.
I wouldn't do
That's
that.
really cool.
Yeah.
What is something in the cigar industry, because it's easy to get weighed down in the production process and seconding a bunch of production. It's easy to lose that passion, I would imagine. But what is it that keeps you ignited?
Well, to be honest, I've been asked this question, and to me, it's always the faces on the consumers. You know, whenever I come to a cigar store, and you know that if I could take part in a moment of happiness that, you know, with my product, that is my cigar, and they're seeing their faces and that appreciation that, and I know your product, and I smoked it, I love it, and that's what drives me. That's really at the end of the day what drives me. Is not the fact that they're buying the product. I really appreciate that, but it's the fact that they're buying it because they like it, and that's what drives
so his day was made because he comes in and sits down and talks to Craig and Nicole.
Oh yeah,
they got Zulu
cigar
tattoos
every day.
And so,
they just won't show them to you. But.
No, and the minute we sat down, you know, I found out she was from the Bahamas, and she asked me, I told her I was Bahamas, Nassau, Fox Hill, and we understood each other, so it was a phenomenal.
That's
day.
That's the perfect couple to sit next to. She smoked Zulu, Connecticut, Lanceros with a punch. Every day.
And that's what makes me continue to do my work. You know, it makes it a lot easier.
It's gotta be very rewarding.
It is very rewarding overall, because there's millions of people out there that have tried a product over the years that, you know, overall I made, you know, an impact with my product. So that's what makes me the happiest overall.
It was something that's very unique, and maybe you can speak to this, or maybe it was an anomaly myself, but a couple months ago we went to the DR, went to a factory for some other work, and we were in the factory after it closed, and it was just the owner and myself, and we sat there, and you could almost feel the energy of the vibrance. And I looked at all the cigars in the presses, and I went, how many fathers are going to connect with their sons in this room? How many people going through divorce are going to get the help they need from what's happening here? Just think of all the stories that are happening just in this room in these presses. Is that something that you feel?
That's exactly, you know, that wedding celebration, that event that someone smokes a cigar. I think of that. That's what drives me overall.
Or somebody having their first cigar, and that's where your cigars are always a first to recommend. If somebody they don't know where they're at strength wise, they just don't. We're just always safe putting them into your cigar. And that, I think that's why the whole line does very well here. But you know, when you can. I mean, my favorite story is I had a guy that he didn't say, I don't like Connecticut's. He said, I hate Connecticut's. I hate, I mean, it was like he was talking about his ex-wife. Wow. He was hateful. And I said, come with me. And I took him in, and I got him a Zulu. And I said, smoke this. He gets done smoking it. He's like, okay, first of all, you didn't sell me a Connecticut. No, I did say a Connecticut. This has completely changed my mind. Completely changed his mind. And I mean, this guy that's great. He was out to get somebody. I mean, it was just.
He's 100%. I will back this up. It was a Saturday afternoon. I'll never forget. I remember what he was wearing.
That's very rewarding that you're able to change someone's mind into liking something that they don't like.
Well, and give
it an appreciation.
But the key is I think that we have always been very upfront with the desire to educate. And we let people know that our humidor is curated, which means we had to smoke everything in order for it to earn its space on the floor. And then usually a line, once it's good, it expands on our floor. But they trust us. But we've tasted the cigar. And there's a lot of shops that you'll go into that will just, you know, well, what do you think of this cigar? Man, I don't know. I've never smoked it. Or you get a line of bullshit. And you realize this guy obviously hasn't smoked this cigar, because what he just described is not what that cigar does. So I think that when you give somebody, when our regular customers know that we're confident in this, and it's real simple for us with certain lines to say, look, smoke it. If it's not what I told you it was, I'll get you something else.
Yeah.
We've never had to
But it's
do
important because we talk about training, we talk about this rhythm, right? This process and changing new things and being okay with the anxiety and the coping and everything. It all comes together in that little moment. It's a microcosm to what you're saying. But you just gave something to someone they didn't expect, they expected to not like, and then they enjoyed it. So when they leave the four walls and go somewhere else, maybe that changes them or opens them up half a step. And for me, I'm curious from you guys, from your perspective, to hear what is the last thing that you've done that maybe has changed the way you've thought about your interface with the world. Right? Wow. It's what is something. And
if you don't mind if I start,
Please.
I just recently, my experience when appliances go bad is that I'm going to call somebody. They may or may not come out. When they do, it's going to cost me $150 for them to come out, whether they figure it out or not. The end result is, you should probably buy a new one since it's going to be cheaper than to. But I had an issue, and I went to this company.
Oh yeah,
and
finish that thing up.
Their service was within an hour, and they send me the link to the part that's $29. They send me a PDF of the service manual going, don't have anybody come out and fix it. It's just 2 screws, unplug it, plug in the new piece. Wow. You're good to go. And so I've had to order 3 different parts from them, but they're diagnosing the problem. They're doing this. And the next day I get the part. And it's like, now I understand why people are so frustrated when they don't get service, because I've had a good service experience now, and now it really makes the bad ones stick out. I mean, because there are some places that just service is just not part of the equation. So that's the one thing that I finally have had an experience that I hope people get here, but I've finally had this experience where, that's what service feels like. Somebody went over and above the Call of Duty. Maybe that was just their regular Call of Duty and they were just trained well. But man, it felt good.
That's good.
It felt really good.
Yeah, for me, one of the things that I've changed to dealing with people is probably listen more and really kind of try to listen and understand and put myself in their place. Everybody typically has an opinion that you might not disagree with, but overall I've realized that, I have to look at what they're telling me and understand why they're in that position and try to understand why they're expressing the way, whatever their argument is or the discussion that we're having, and just to listen more. I think that's one of the things that we kind of forget. We can listen and we're quick to respond to what our opinion is, instead of like really putting ourselves in, that other person's opinion or their body or what really drew them or what made them come up with that opinion. And I always try to, in my mind, look back and be like, why? So for me to be able to talk to them at that point in time.
Is there an experience that you had that told you that, or was that something internally?
Well, being with my wife for 20 years,
the experience is given.
It only took you 20 years.
Yeah, it took me 19, and the last one has been good. No, I'm joking. In essence, not overall. It's kind of one of those things that we live in a world that's sort of divided, and sometimes everybody really has a lot of passion, and sometimes they don't listen. And I think that's one of the things that I've taken the approach of just listen, process, and then kind of opinionate at the end, letting them express everything that they want to tell you. That's been my approach.
I love that. What about you, Ed?
Yeah. So recently in my line of work as a firearms dealer, I had a potential client call me and say, I want a firearm. And I was like, okay, great. What are you looking for? And she tells me, I want a 1911, which is a 45 caliber double action, firearm that not many people. She wanted it for self protection.
That's not a very comfy self protection.
No, it's very big.
So I was like, okay, I can certainly do that. And going back into like my experience of walking into a a firearm store for the very first time, it's like they just want to sell you whatever, right? Here, we got these. We'll, boom, we'll sell you whatever, regardless of what you want. However, I've learned asking questions and just kind of learning, to your point, it's like having those conversations and kind of just, okay, so what makes you want to get the 1911? Well, I'm a realtor. I went into this house and there was some shady people around. I was talking to the owner of the house and he told me I should get a 1911. And I was like, that's probably not the right choice. Let me help you get to where you need to go. Mm. And so, I have several firearms. I said, you can come over, feel what it feels like in the hand. If you're going to carry it on your person, in your purse.
Is that the H&K you posted today?
No, that was a neighbor, but.
What you end up recommending?
So we're still in that process.
Okay.
Because it's all about feel. It's all about, and I like people to actually shoot the firearm just so that they're comfortable. Whether it be a 9mm, 40, 380, even at that, right? Depending on their stature as well. So it all kind of just comes into place. Very similar to like people come in here, right, and want a cigar. Oh, I want, the most strongest cigar that you have, right?
Yeah, we get that.
And you start asking the questions, right? Do you drink coffee? How do you drink it?
Right. What do you like about that?
I like a lot of cream, a lot of sugar.
But that's great. That's great that you're still in the process. So you're actually still helping her.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah, because, I would think that someone else would be like, all right, well, that's not the one for you. Just go with, I don't know, a Ruger or smaller 380 or something like that.
Yeah.
It'll be easy because maybe it's not the way the trigger is going to pull.
Yeah, right, but anyone else, right? In 1911, especially with the one she wanted, is super expensive.
Yeah,
and
that's another thing.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Yeah. Any other place, but I said, here you go, boom, sale, good. Next.
Yeah, but that's not your style. It's a character move. It's a character move. And the fact that you're still going through it, she'll be back for the next.
Oh, yeah.
And all of her friends will hear the same story.
Yeah, it's a character. The last thing you want is, this guy sold me this, and then she shoots one time, and it's like, Ale, the first time she shot a gun, she just set it down and went, nope, I'm good. Yeah. I'm out. Yeah. I'm done.
Same with my wife. She never went back to it.
But try 22, try 380, which are, less.
But it doesn't matter because you're still center mass. You got no problems, right? So, you don't have to shoot a shotgun once. All you got to do is cock that thing and everyone's out of the house, right? So, that's it. Yeah. So at the end, you're finding what's right. I think that's just so cool. And one thing that I learned this past week that I'm still learning at this moment is it's okay to give yourself permission to live a little bit. For those of you who've chimed in and joked for so long for the same 2006 Honda Ridgeline with 300,000 miles that I've driven for the last 13 years, this week, finally purchased a new vehicle. And the enjoyment of life. I know it's just a thing. I'm completely okay with that. It's not about showy. It's not about anything. But it's so similar to catering your life of the people who surround you, but even your touch points. You think about friends are somewhat easy to curate. Do they help my life? Do they not? But what about the other touch points that are in your life? And I think it's really easy for you to cloud yourself with the good things or to rain on your own parade with the bad things. That you don't focus on some of the other more frequent touch points. And now there's this feeling of this emotional feeling. I would imagine similar to creating that blend that is just, that's it. It feels like it. It's chasing the muse. I'm so glad you said that at the beginning, is that muse.
Yeah.
And when you get it, you go, yes, this is what I'm working for. This is that enjoyment of life that I work for.
Yeah.
And other people can enjoy what you work for. It doesn't have to be about impressing a valet or whatever. But when my kids are in the back and they want to rip a corner in second gear, we hit a corner in second gear, and they get as much enjoyment out of it. So I've learned a lot this week, and it's interesting. We all take something that's relatively recent for us. But for me, enjoy your life, and because
and the thing is we, at least our family, is we're always the last to take care of ourselves, right? We want to make sure everybody else is taken care of. and you were in that, or have been in that rut in the past. And I think that the people around us want us to have that experience. They feel good that you feel good about doing something, finally doing something for yourself.
I agree. And I think as we look at that almost clouding nature in a very positive way, to pull to you, George, is I just so deeply respect what you've done.
Well,
And we have very few connections personally, but I feel like I know who you are.
Thank you.
Because I was going to say this earlier, you can taste a good cigar, but you feel an exceptional cigar. And you feel that someone cares about your experience. And when I have friends who come over, it is Zulu. When I pulled out the ceramic on Saturday, I have the ceramic humidor that is for aging only, and it's Zulu and Don Diego Playboy, because that was the first cigar we ever smoked. And that's there's
the ritual,
right? It's this thing, like, don't touch these. And also yours.
Awesome.
And it's something that, you know, I want to say thank you, because it gives me the ability to give that to somebody and know they're going to enjoy themselves.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I put a lot of love and passion into what I do. I'm always thinking of the consumer. My idea is that at the end of the day, we want to give them the best that we could do. And if it transfers over and you see it, it makes me extremely happy. And I think my dad would be very, very, very excited to hear that too.
Well, I hope.
I think it's just, you know, you almost feel like saying thank you.
Yeah.
Because you didn't beat me up. You just let me go on this journey and enjoy the cigar all the way through. And that's, if you're out there watching and you haven't tried any of the Gran Habano products, look, they're all good. But what you've done with this 20th Anniversario is, it shows, I think it's I don't want to say it's the beginning of where you're going, but it shows that you deserve a spot up on that shelf with some really big name brands up there. And I can tell you, and I'll say the brand, but just that 20th Anniversario since November, we've sold considerably more of those than the entire Padron line.
Wow.
So it is,
thanks to you, by the way.
Well,
yeah, but it
Thank
just,
you.
you've kept that flow of inventory coming, which is greatly appreciated. But the fact is, we can hand it to somebody in confidence. Look, when we have people over and we cook a meal, we want them to enjoy the meal.
Yeah.
And we're happy when we see this look on their face that, oh my God, this is good.
That love and passion
And
transfers.
that is,
Yeah.
I think that's at our core. That's where we all live. You know, that's just, you just want somebody to be happy with what you handed them. And I'll tell you what, I mean, the 5-packs are perfect for golf for me, because I can just throw them in the car. They're good until I come back out next Sunday. But when guys go, hey man, I forgot my cigars, got you covered. And then they'll start smoking it, and they'll just be like, God damn, this thing is good.
How is it so goddamned oily? How is that thing? It looks like you Armor All this stuff in the factory.
What is
that?
he's smoking right there was Armor All. It had to be.
It had to. You hit that with a little.
The Maduro. Well, the Maduro, it's unique because it's actually a San Andreas seed grown in Nicaragua. So it's a really sun-grown wrapper. We use the top, so the 4th cut and the 5th cut of the plant is what we use for wrapper on the Maduros. And that's just that rich Nicaraguan soil with the sun. It just gives that leaf so much thickness, so we're able to age it longer, and those oils are really strong. And that's one of the things that I love about that.
That's still so approachable.
But for the guy that just insists on having a dark, oily cigar, and his world revolved around a Liga 9 or something, fill in the blank.
LFD,
And then all of a sudden you hand them that, and they have this enjoyment. Because it's you can't judge a book by its cover with that cigar.
Yeah.
No, and what's unique about that cigar is that, you know, we typically, especially in our trays, we try not to sell them in order for the consumer to see how oily that cigar is.
It's a great idea, too.
You're kind of putting a veil on it, and you're not seeing what's there sometimes, and it's unfortunate. But for packaging and for stores, I understand that. But if you really take it out of the bag, it just shines. It gives you, it does that,
sticks to your lips and everything.
So.
It really does.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I want to ask you guys, because I think especially younger listeners, maybe just on the right on the cusp of maybe being too young to watch this show. I empathize with those people who are trying to get started. And maybe even the people who watch us week in and week out. This element we talk about, passion, often. Where does passion come from? Where did you find your passion? You said you found it in the warehouse. But can you manufacture this? Where does it come from to you?
Well, I mean, I think for me, it's kind of one of those things that I'm always someone that asks a million questions. And by having to really learn tobacco growing, tobacco manufacturing, there's so many details go into it that someone like myself sees where, you know, you can make a mistake and avoiding it. And so that dedication that you start to develop, we're like, okay, this is not the way to do it. This is how it's done, and going back to traditional processes. So not what people are currently doing, but also learning of what, you know, people before me were doing, and then learning that, and then really falling in love. I love history, and then there's a history in the tobacco industry, you know, that goes back to cigars being manufactured in the U.S. and Cuba, and how the processes, you know, even though we're making cigars in 2023, the process is the same as it was 200 years ago. But you know, there's other technologies and things of that nature. But how do people do it? And then when you start to fall in love with that process, that's where your passion kind of comes.
What's the biggest difference between 2023 and 1823?
Well, you know, in making a cigar or
yeah. When you
or,
talk about the historic background and how maybe some of those techniques are.
I mean, that's the thing. It hasn't changed. Overall, you know, the curing, if you really understand how to cure tobacco, how to farm it, it hasn't changed. Now, you know, you have fertilizers, you have different processes with barns, you know, better air circulation, all these different things, thermometers for you to be able to gauge, as opposed to, you know, back in the day, guys used to come and just touch and by feel, and that knowledge that they had. You know, we have those elements that help us nowadays, but overall, the process is still the same.
Are there techniques that people are using today that maybe accelerates some of this, but the net result of the finished product's not quite as good?
I mean, I
see
think
people kind of using microwaves to cook a steak type of thing.
Yeah, and that transfers over to the same thing. Overall, it's true. I mean, with tobacco, one of the things that I always tell people, when you're curing tobacco tells you when it's done, and that's the one thing that people don't understand. You know, when you really try to push it, it's when you end up with a product that's not reflective of what you were putting out on the field. So if you're farming and you're putting so much effort and money and you're doing great on the field, and then you go to your industry and then now you're rushing it, you just kind of shit on everything you've done. So overall, that process, you can't push it, even though there's people that do, you know, with the cafrizas and all these other things that you find out there. You know, overall, the traditional process, if you
I'm sorry, what is cafriza?
So a cafriza is just like, you know, these giant buildings where the wrapper is basically steamed and heated to cure faster than you would in a pilon, but you're getting that color. So ultimately, you're rushing the process.
But you're not getting the flavor.
But you're not ultimately getting the same flavor that you would if you went through the traditional process. So that's one of the corners that you will cut, that you're not finding yourself, you know, you're putting a product that's subpar to what you were really trying to accomplish, so that you could find out.
Please make American
The
Puro.
American Puro. That was a great project. I appreciate that. That's something that overall is kind of one of those things that had its time. I'm really trying to reinvent, you know, do it again. But for me, as a project, that making an American Puro, opening up a cigar factory that was just for that cigar, it's kind of something that it was at that moment in time, that window, and it's unfortunate. I don't think I could recreate that now.
Yep.
You know,
So you're saying there's a chance.
Can't get around
1 in a million.
can't get around that old minimum wage either.
Yeah. You know, with the FDA regulation, USDA came in, and I decided that you know, closing down the factory would be better. So unfortunately, that's kind of one of the things that affected that project.
Government.
Yeah. But that was a great cigar for its time, and you missed it 10 years ago.
I miss that
So
cigar.
going back to like the process, I've heard stories that y'all went to,
Nicaragua.
and I think you know where I'm going, right? So whatever cigar maker at that time was trying to speed up the process by dipping the leaves and making them darker, that type of thing.
Yeah.
We won't name
like
names,
black
but
water.
right.
There was one that was
They steam it and
Yeah.
pots and all that.
Yeah.
You know.
Oiling, pressing, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the
And,
most,
and you know what? I'll be honest. I've tried those processes because you're in a factory and you want to expedite it. And we tried it and we failed and we ruined tobacco and we just said no, it's just better not to. Sometimes you want to try. It's like, hey, maybe I'll work over here, but and we realize that it's not. You can't speed the process of curing tobacco. It's just not going to happen. And when you start with a subpar product, it's going to transfer over into a subpar cigar. That's just really what it comes down to.
yeah.
I don't care how long you age it in a humidor; it's just never going to work.
So what the crops you have in the field for 2023? When will that be on a shelf typically?
So the crop for 2023 filler will be available probably in August of next year.
Okay.
Oh,
the
really?
filler.
Okay, it's that quick.
Yeah, for fillers it's different. Now for wrappers and binders, you'll find that towards the end of 2024, maybe beginning of 25. But for fillers, typically fillers take between 6 to 8 months to cure, depending on.
In the barns.
No, so there's a process of curing in barns, then you cure in pilones, and then from pilones you could go up to that process where it could go into up to a year, depending on what you're growing. If it's broadleaf, it could go 12 months.
Are you
in the
curing?
fillers?
Are you curing in Honduras?
So we cure in Nicaragua and Honduras. So we do both.
It's interesting.
Our farm in Jalapa, we cure there. We do up to 50% curing, and then we'll move it to Honduras and finish the process there for what the cigars that go into. And it's just a space situation for us.
Okay.
And transportation.
that process, I've heard that. This is the first time I've heard really fermentation as curing.
Yeah.
So I've heard processing.
Yeah.
Some say processing, some say fermentations.
Yeah,
you say curing.
I say curing the tobacco, but essentially it's a fermentation process.
Okay.
But to me, is you're curing the tobacco to get it to the level where you want it to, where you could use it. Because at the end of the day, it's like I was telling you, is tobacco dictates when you can use it.
There are some people that use it a little too soon.
Yeah, it could be the case.
Yeah, I think the most despicable. I think where you were pushing on that is the most difficult for us is it was post-roll fermentation.
Okay.
So they would. I'm glad you gave that response. They would roll. It's a brand that I won't say, but they would roll it and then they would put it into another room. Basically, afterwards, an aging room.
Yeah.
But that aging room was about 85% humidity and about 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just...
No,
okay,
I mean,
glad.
no, I don't know. I mean, I would have to learn a little bit more, but
This-
I'm one of those that likes to go to other factories, and learn from people. Because, there is techniques that other people use that you want to learn if they want to share. Not necessarily, this is sort of a technique that everyone is like a chef, that they want to keep their secrets and they want to do. So overall, when they, the many other manufacturers that I know have always shared with me and I've learned from them. And it's always been a great experience because, they want to teach you. If it's someone that's doing the right process, like I went to see Ernie at EPC a few years ago, and he walked me through his factory and showed me how he does his curing and his drying and all this thing, because you understand who that person that you're teaching really respects what you're doing, and that's important. Yeah, and they could understand that and they want to share with that.
Right.
But overall, when people are doing different things that they don't want the world to know, I could see where they don't want to share.
Yeah. And a huge shout out to EPC and Ernie. I mean, Ernie's a great
they're
guy.
doing a great product out there. I love their
truly.
stuff.
I mean, they're a great family, and there's a reason why they have the ratings they have.
Yeah.
I mean, a 98 in CA.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a big deal.
you don't fake that much.
No.
But
He just got a 92 in CA.
Yeah, with the Corona the Corona Gorda on the 20th anniversary. Just
congratulations
this week. I didn't know.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I appreciate
Well
it.
deserved.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's one of those surprises that I thought was wow. It just blew me away. So,
Oh, wow.
You shouldn't be surprised.
No, you.
well, like anybody,
I know, as an
you're
owner,
always
yes,
surprised when you
of
get something
course.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow. What's your major takeaway so far?
I just appreciate being able to smoke a cigar that I truly love, and I'm sitting here in the same room in a podcast with that owner, right? So it's just next time I fire up a Zulu, I'm like, "Thank you, George."
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, truly.
My ears will ring.
I hope so, because it's going to be tomorrow. That's
Great.
That's when
I
that
look
next
forward to the event
Zulu.
tomorrow, so that's great.
As bad as it is not
All right.
No, it is surreal for me.
Yeah.
Especially now. It's an emotional experience. And we're sitting in a construction site. We're sitting with someone we truly, truly respect. That I know that everyone, if not everyone, 95% of the people who are watching have heard from our mouth. Try this. They've tried it. They've enjoyed it. It's like going. It's like a Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory type of situation. You know, it's remarkable, and it's something that I just can't tell you how much we appreciate you hopping on a plane and coming here and being a part of this.
It's my pleasure. Anytime. I think you guys have supported me tremendously, and I appreciate it. And it's one of those things that, you know, overall, every time you text me or call me, it fills me with joy, because I know that you guys are really promoting the product and doing a really good job at doing that. And I see the podcast, and I'm excited every time you guys mention me, because, you know, that means you really love what I'm doing. So thank you.
We always we want to be an outlet that you're proud to say, Industrial's doing really well with it. You should give it a try.
Yeah, and I do.
And that to us gives us great pride too, because it's and we're happy to talk to any dealer that's on the fence. We'll definitely let them know what our experience is.
Let me, if I can grab the shovel here for just a second and dig a little deeper. I'm curious on your side, because you have a 22-year-old and 11-year-old. How do you balance life with, you're farming, you're manufacturing, you're selling, and you're ultimately just trying to, and blending on top of that, plus production of packaging and everything. How do you find that balance?
Well, I got to be honest. I mean, a lot of people sometimes think that I do everything, and I do. Do a lot of the process that happens here in the United States, and, you know, the blending and the manufacturing. I deal with the factory, but a big support is my father. Ultimately, you know, what he's able to do at the farms. That's why it's kind of unique, and why we work well. In essence, sometimes we, you know, butt heads and could argue and you know, be at each other's throats. But at the end of the day, we're family, and that support, that I know that he has my back. And he's doing, you know, his job at 100% in order to cure the tobacco, farm it, and then bring it to the factory for me to be able to do my job. And the team behind me. It's what really allows me to be able to do what I do. So there's a big family that a lot of people don't realize that's behind me, supporting me, allowing me to come out and do my job. And they make it a lot easier. So the factory manager's been with us for over 20 years. Wow. She's like family. Wow. So shout out to Karina, because of the fact that I know that she's doing her job, and it's helping me. And then you know, it's just that team, that family. There's a huge Gran Habano family overall, not only here in the United States, but overall in Central America, that supports me. So,
how old is your father?
My father's 68.
Oh, he's so young.
Yeah, so he's still very young. He's very active, and if you meet my dad, he's 68 going on 18. So
okay, good.
I can relate.
Yeah,
bring him next time.
Yeah, bring him up with you.
We'll bring him up. We'll bring him up. He'll be very
Speaks
excited.
English?
No, so, you know, his English is a little rough, but he knows.
Let's do our first Spanish show.
There you go.
That could be.
If he comes up, we'll do a full Spanish show.
Well, you can meet him at the PCA this year. He's going to be there. He missed last year, but he'll be there. He's always there every year, except for last year. So you'll get to meet him, and, you know, he's someone that knows probably more than I do about tobacco. So if I know what I know, he knows more, and I've learned from him and my team. So that's always very important. You know, for me to come out, it's my team.
Is it heavy for you to know that he's not always going to be there?
I worried about it. You know, it's one of those things like anything where, you know, am I going to have to, if something happens to my dad, what's going to happen overall, and what my responsibilities are going to be, and who's going to replace me with what I do for me to go do his job, because it's a lot of work. I mean, farming, it's one of those things that you have to have a full dedication to. It's not something that you could just be on a cell phone or text messaging on WhatsApp. It's not something that you could do. Just, you have to have a team. You have to be there. Tobacco is one of those things that it just within 4 hours you'll lose thousands of pounds and thousands of dollars. So it's a big process. Something that takes a lot of time, and you have to physically be there. So yeah, I worry sometimes about that. And plus, he's my dad. I love him overall, and you know, you don't want that to happen. But you know, one day it's going to be my turn, and hopefully, I have that support, someone like me, to be there. So
So is that what you're doing with your son, is allowing him to live the life? And if his path comes back, you're basically going to replace yourself with him?
Overall, that would be my goal. But if not, there's, hopefully someone else in my family. I do have a younger sister as well. So, she's going to college this year. So, be part of the team as well. So we'll see what happens.
It's a heaviness that we carry.
No,
I mean, obviously Pops is still very young and this is all good times, but I think as sons, you see that and go, there's going to be a time when I'm sitting here under the light and there's going to be that first show. It's
it's true.
Fuck, what do we do? There's going to be a call at some point. And as a part of a family business, I haven't figured out, to your previous point, is how to cope with that anxiety of your turn. Your turn. And so I'm just curious and selfishly, I mean, for those who are there,
I think the pressure definitely adds up as the years come of what's going to happen. But I mean, I think that's one of the things that drives me to learn, to be able to pass on as much as possible. So, learn what I need to learn from the generations before me, and then get that knowledge and pass it on. And hopefully I get to do that. And there's someone else that could, carry the baton.
Yeah, and I don't mean to make this like a morbid conversation.
No.
I would like.
It's a family business.
It's things that you have to
it's
think
a family
about.
thing.
But without meeting your dad, but knowing you, I think that he has what I have, which is total peace of mind. That when the day comes, that I know everything's going to be okay, and there's a lot of satisfaction in that. There's no stress. There's no worry. I'm not gonna have to worry about anything. So, I think that's one thing is, as you get older, you just start thinking about, you want to stick around as long as you can to see everything that you can, see your kids grow up, see their kids grow up. You want to see all that stuff. There's a reality to that because everybody's got a finish line. But when you know that everybody is prepared to take the baton and run, it gives I'm telling you, your dad has tremendous peace right now.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't mean to be
no,
a morbid conversation, but
it's one of the things that I've thought. I mean, am I going to be able, like you said, to the anxiety, am I going to be able to step up?
Yeah.
And it's fearful. Am I going to trip and fail? Am I going to fail everyone now that's, they're looking at me to carry on. So
of course you're going to fail. But it's okay. Because you're not going to be a failure. Right. And that's part of that process. And I think that gives such peace and
it's
just
so easy for people, just as a general statement, it's so easy to take failure as not as the lesson that it is, but to just get comfortable with it. And I think that's when things nosedive. But
what do you mean by that?
What I mean by is there's success and there's lessons. There's not success and failure. But there are some people that they fail and then will start telling themselves, I'm just a screw up. This is going to be like this. Every time I do this, it's going to be, this is the third time in a row that I've made this mistake. Well, people can get comfortable with that. They end up living kind of miserable lives. And they give up. And it's just, if you just look at that going, okay, well, we learned something. We learned that when the tobacco got to 114 degrees, it was too hot and we blew up this whole thing. Let's just don't do that again. Lesson learned, cost us a few $1,000 next. Let's get on to the next one and we'll do it right. But now we're focused on it. So I think that failure is a disease that if you allow yourself to catch it, man, it's hard to shake it.
Failure is very comfortable, right?
It is.
It's very. How you doing? It's this. You want to grab, like, wake up. Just snap out of it a little bit. That mentality. I'm curious. How would you? Because you have very successful kids and a great family. If you found you find yourself as a parent in a situation where your kids become comfortable with failure, how do you snap them out of it? How do you get them to do it? Or is your focus not on that, but on how do we teach them the lessons we're talking about now of there's no success and failure, it's success and lessons?
Yeah, I think it's just a reflection back on my own failures and how I came out of it. And I don't have a specific example per se, but it's kind of getting into that conversation. And to your point, it's like you physically want to shake them and like get out of that rut, right? There's more. This is a lesson learned, and you go from there.
There is. I had a situation with your brother, with Nathan, when he was still living at the house, and I found that the quickest way to get him out of this rut that he was in is, now I did it with at a pretty high volume. Mm-hmm. Make sure he heard it.
You
make
did
sure
shake
that
him.
I want to make sure he heard it because I was 8 feet away.
Yeah.
But I started stacking up all the shit that he had, all the stuff he had going for him, and the stack is pretty high, with one failure under his belt. Mm. It's real easy to forget when you have one failure that's just weighing you down, to forget you got your health, you got this. Yeah. You start listing all the stuff that you've got, and that's your only problem.
Yeah.
And when that light goes off, and I saw the light go off on him, it was just, he got up, he hugged me, and he was like a new person. But I think, to answer your question, how do you deal with it? I had to stack up reality.
Perspective.
There's this much going on right, this one thing that's going wrong. Don't let that own you.
Yeah.
Let this be the reminder.
That being said, it's sometimes very difficult because at least maybe he had the support. Sometimes our support group, that's the one thing that a lot of people, sometimes they find themselves alone, they retreat, and they get stuck in that dark room.
They fixate.
Yeah, and it's not that. Maybe they just don't know how to get out of it, and it's sometimes someone that is part of your support group, and that's sometimes something that people don't realize. When you're seeing someone struggle through that, you have to say something. You have to help them. And that's one thing that I feel that sometimes as a society we fail, that we see people go through trouble, and it just takes a 5-minute conversation, and sometimes they don't do it, and something could happen to that individual, and you regret. And you should never hold back, even if they're not going to take it or receive it well at that time. They'll thank you later on. Once you find there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Because all of us are going to have failures, whether it's on personal life, business life. Yep. It's just things that are going to happen. We're all, a car accident in traffic, things of that nature. Yeah. But, sometimes it's the support group that you surround yourself with. That's the most important thing. Mm-hmm. So surrounding yourself with good, positive people, it's always good. It's always good.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll tell you, I think the one thing that we've seen consistently over the years is just the nature of our business, the nature of the majority of our customers are men. They're here a lot. But a lot have gone through divorce or are going through divorce. And I think that they really they're actively looking for somebody to tell them, you didn't screw up, it's going to be okay. Because, man, they can get sucked down the toilet pretty quick.
But doesn't it feel good from time to time to have somebody sit you down and go, you're messing up here.
Yeah.
You're messing up. Give that perspective to Nate. Give the perspective. You are messing up. I need you to tighten up. Tighten up here.
But I think when you do that, it's very important not to do it in a judgmental way.
Agreed.
I think that's because it's the way it's received, the message. That's the most important thing. But overall, it's always important to guide someone, but help them find their way. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing. Not tell them how to find a way. You could only guide them. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. This week I watched a video that talked about just different traits that every kid is born with. And no matter how much you think you're the architect to your kid's life, you're just a shepherd.
Yeah.
Right? You can only guide. It illustrates your point. It's no matter how much you want them to be the thing, if your dad made you do these things and you didn't want to do it and he said, this is the way it's got to be, this is your life, this is what it is, you probably would have repelled.
Yeah, there would be resentment as opposed to embracement. Yeah.
What are some things that he did that made you fall in love with it? Or what are some of the things from your approach that opened that up for you to soak it in?
Well, I think overall, my dad being Latin, it's a little bit rough where you get that tough love. But that being said,
a little shorter fuse.
I think he understood and he gave me the room to maneuver. And even though I made mistakes, when I first started out, he allowed me to have room for me to grow. And I think that was the most important thing for me, to find my way and find my space within what we were doing. And that allowed me to be more creative, to really have more dedication, to have more focus in my business, and to look for what was beneficial for the family and the business. And so that space that he allowed me to grow in became bigger and bigger over time. And overall, it became more of like, George is going to take us in this direction. Let's give him the support. And so that's what really led to our success over the years. That I was able to have that room, and he allowed me to have that. So that was very important for me.
That's cool.
Because I felt that I was creative. I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to do it at the time, and I found my way little by little.
Did you have a mentor?
So I've had many mentors. I mean, I speak of the older generation that a lot of people, having grown up in the business in the 90s, the mid 90s to now, I met a lot of the great guys. I had a question of who I would talk to on another podcast last week, and Gilberto Oliva Senior was one of those guys. And it was the guys that I had access to during our trade shows that I would be able. So even though they were not entirely trying to be my mentor, the fact that I was chasing them around and asking them questions, they became my mentor. So there's a lot of great guys that I spoke to over the years that are still in the industry. Some have passed, that were able to, give me that knowledge, or pass on little things that you could go back to your own factory and like learn and understand and kind of really figure things out. So my cousin, when he worked with us at our factory, was a great mentor for the farming process. He explained everything as I was learning in my, my 20s, and I got to learn a lot. So overall, I've had many mentors. Yeah, so it's been great. I mean, overall, it's always good to pass on knowledge. Knowledge is everything.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's power.
And then finding those mentors that share the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
That just.
And who would you say was your biggest mentor? I don't think this is something we've asked before.
No, but we talk about mentorship a lot on these shows. I have many. I can't really specify any one, but I will say that growing up, and I'm not older than Pops, but I'm close. But
trees and rocks that aren't as old as me.
But you've always looked up to like older people, and because they've lived life or whatever, and you want to learn from them. But you're one of my biggest mentors. And you're probably half my age, and it's just wonderful to have that ability that I can pick up the phone, call you, and discuss an issue or a problem, and you're like an older guy in a young body.
It's awesome. That's good.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Yeah. It's true. Sometimes younger people could teach you things too. That's something that people don't realize. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I could call Pops easily because it's probably gonna be the same interaction, but
the same answer too.
It's probably gonna be the same answer.
Just running an oil company business and an cigar lounge, but you're running two businesses as well. But I think you
thank you for saying that. That's
of course
touching, humbling.
I don't want to change subjects, but I want to know, George, how old was your son when he had his first cigar?
Actually, 18
Okay.
on his birthday. I gave him an original Zulu line, the Habano.
Nice.
I have a picture of him smoking it in the car. We got on. I was taking him home
in the car.
Yeah, and I gave him the car for his birthday, and that was his first cigar. It was really, it was a good moment.
How would you explain that moment?
Yeah,
it was kind of one of those moments where you kind of see your kid as a man. And now he no longer is a kid for me personally.
Yeah.
He's someone that I looked at that point in time as someone that I know is a man. And even though he's younger and maybe doesn't have the knowledge that I do, but that now I could share other things and bond with him in other levels.
Yeah.
And then that was what was exciting for me to share that cigar with him. It was very touching for me.
Do you often share cigars with him? What's his name? Ethan.
Yeah,
Do you share cigars with Ethan now regularly?
Well,
obviously
he's in Panama City, so he's been up there. He was in here in Texas, and he's been living up there since he was when he enlisted. Yeah. So overall, I don't get to see him as much. I got to see him over the winter break real quick, but it was more family, so we didn't get to have that moment to smoke a cigar. But yeah, there's times when I enjoy talking to him.
Did you feel the same way the first time we shared a cigar? Or how did you see it?
To me, it was
because we were not. We were not.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
I don't know if George knows the story.
No, so they were all athletes. We lived in Omaha. I was just taking this job down here, and they were all the twins were going into college. Brandon was already in college, and they were all athletes in school. So there were never the partiers that join the frats and do all that shit. So they just, little did I know, they were all smoking cigars, and Brandon was, of course, the one that was going into buying.
I was the dealer.
Yeah, he was a pusher man. Dealer. Yeah,
older brother.
But they came down, and at this point, they're in college. My joke was, we're leaving, and if you guys pass your first semester, we'll tell you where we moved. Otherwise, you're going to have to figure it out. But they fortunately they pretty much almost all passed.
Pretty much
close enough. But so we told them. But they came down for spring break, and they were in the hot tub. Now they're all drinking a beer, no problem. But they're smoking a cigar. And when I came out to the hot tub, I could smell the cigars, and they're hiding them, going, "Oh shit, here comes Dad." and I smelled them, and I went back in the house. I grabbed 4 Cubans. I came out and basically said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. Let me show you how to cut it. And they're looking at me like I'm an idiot. They're going, "Dad, we've been smoking cigars this whole time." So, Long time. They had been smoking cigars the whole time that they were back in Nebraska going to school. And it became that, for me, it was, what was really important was not knowing how to be a dad to adults. This gave me an opportunity to talk to him as an adult, and we were able to connect. And the cigar was kind of the mortar that held it together. It made Christmas and everything really easy from that point on, because I would just go buy a whole assortment of cigars and give them to him for Christmas and birthdays and everything else. So it was really that time that they were, as we would have this time together, that it was just, we should do something together. And it was just this reality that we had this connection, and it quickly became, let's try the cigar thing out. And it was very cool.
Did you have that? Was there a moment where it sounds like George had a moment with Ethan in the car where he goes, "Oh shit, this is a man now"? Yeah. Was that, or was it more gradual?
Yeah, no. I mean, I remember when the twins graduated high school, they were smoking cigars out in the garage. And I remember walking out there, and my mom was trying to go, "Come on, grab me your cigar."
You know what she would say? You know what she said? When she opened up the door? She goes, "You got that good shit?"
Yeah.
That's what your mother would say.
That's my mom. So,
yeah, Grandma.
So she's out there, sucking on cigars and everything else, and it was great. But to me, that was just a thing they were doing because it was graduation night in high school. But it wasn't until we had that connection that day in the hot tub where I realized these guys are all men. These guys are adults now. We're going to do an adult thing. Yeah. And it was, I'll never forget it. I mean, it was just, it was a great time, and it was, it's unfortunate I didn't get a chance to have a cigar with my dad. And,
you got one.
I had one, but, he was looking at me from a different angle. So it was just one of those things that I think
you got to have one with Duke.
Yeah, for sure.
Duke's out there with us on this podcast. Duke is Bob's. I mean, you really didn't know your dad, right, when you were younger, but Duke raised you.
Yeah.
And we got to sit up here for 3 hours and have a cigar.
And what's crazy is what the cigar did. It let us, we had this conversation. I heard more about my dad's life in that podcast than I had ever heard ever. Wow. In fact, I heard him talk more in a 2-hour period than I've ever heard him talk ever. and he's a man of few words, but when he says something, it means something.
Yep.
And that was still, I mean, there's a few things that I've done that are the coolest things I've ever done. They happen to be with the cigar. That was definitely one of them because I had a chance to, I got to hear about him chasing girls and all this other stuff and why he bought his Corvette and all this. I didn't know any of that.
Wow.
It was a great experience, and that's, that was a really cool moment.
I think this is probably a good time to just put a foot in the ground, make a pivot, slide over to the time where we judge George.
Yeah.
I think George needs,
We can judge.
needs to be judged.
But first and foremost, George, will you please do us the honor while we tell you about what's about to happen to you and sign the drywall?
So while we're telling you, please don't run for the door.
I would love for you to sign this where the Cigars and Guns is. That's where my daughter, that's where my family is signed. Right there would be just ultimate.
So what George doesn't know about the judgment zone is, and I think he even used the word judgment earlier, how we shouldn't judge people.
Here we are.
But we are going to judge him, and that's the judgment zone.
Appreciate it.
Is a point where now that we've all gotten to know you, we have formed an opinion of you that we're going to now ask you some questions that really tell us who you are as a person.
As he takes a drink.
This is the right point. We should probably all do this.
Let me get ready.
And by the way, good job on that. He said he drinks whiskey and doesn't drink tequila because he gets crazy. So
decent tequila.
Yeah.
So,
Tequila.
so here's how this works. We're all going to ask you a question.
Sure.
You're going to answer on a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
1 is absolutely no. 10, absolutely yes. That 5 right in the middle, go ahead and get rid of that.
Okay.
Get it out of there. Yeah. We don't want fence sitters.
we're looking for
But I can tell you what, he's not a 5 guy.
No, he's not.
He understands pre-production. This dude gets it.
Oh, definitely.
So here's the caveat is you don't get to answer this before we get to judge your answers.
Okay.
Adrian, please kick it off as
Yeah.
always.
First question, George. He goes by many names: Yeti, Sasquatch,
Bigfoot.
Where do you stand on? And don't answer yet, but on. Do you believe in Bigfoot?
Ron, where do you think he's
We'll
at?
ask our crowd first.
7? 6?
He's on the other side of the fence.
Oh, 10 for sure.
10 for sure.
Wait a minute. Born and raised Miami or in that?
No, I was born and raised in Colombia.
Oh,
I'd never heard him talking about it down there.
That's a valid question. I mean,
I only know one Colombiana.
I'll say
All right.
Yeah. Where are you at, Aid?
I'm at a 2.
2?
It's the highest ever.
I'm going to go, I'm going to go 4. Adrian, by the way, is 0.
I'm a 0.
Unless he can shoot at it, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
I'm going sub 5. I'm going to go a 3, but open. 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you at?
0.
0.
man.
0.
Yeah. I don't believe in Bigfoot.
All right.
Okay.
Easy. All right. Good. Easy one in the books. Easy one in the books.
Yeah.
Pops.
Yeah.
Pops.
I'm not
let's see what
100% sure though that his answer on that is going to how it's going to carry over.
I don't think he's going to.
Question number 2 is a 2-parter. UFOs. Have UFOs visited us? Are they visiting us now? Are they here? Do you agree with me that all redheaded women are aliens?
I think all women.
Elon Musk and Bill Gates, they're all aliens, all of them. Do they exist? And the second part is, are we alone in the universe? Are there other life-supporting planets in the universe?
That's a 2-part question.
It's a two-part question.
So
we're
do
gonna,
I answer
so you'll have
two?
to answer
Okay.
2
All right.
questions.
Yeah. All right. Where's
the crowd at?
I'm going to say 6 and 4.
Hang the fuck on, Ron. 4 and 6. All right. He's basically a fence sitter. 10.
Wow.
All right. You went 10 and got a 0. Where you at, Joey?
We were talking about this a little bit
Oh.
All right. Well, then.
He's gonna
Okay,
yeah,
you're disqualified.
earlier.
Sorry.
210. I think he's a pretty logical guy. Miami. Yeah, I think.
Them booties, alien.
Well, there's booties.
10 in the comments.
You got the Japanese fly shit over Florida all the time, or the Chinese fly shit over Florida all the time.
No, it was all right.
All right, so I'm gonna
Air
say
China, maybe.
I'm gonna go 6-10.
Where you at?
3-3.
3-9.
Okay. The first one,
Are they here? Yeah,
Zero.
they've been here.
0.
0.
Zero. Pyramids, all
Okay,
that shit.
all right.
Oh, that shit.
Somebody
is all
figured
fake.
it out.
Yeah, I think it's a U.S. technology that we're flying around, and we got it from the Nazis somehow.
Okay. That's a first.
We haven't had the Nazis come into this one yet.
All right, so
No.
there we go.
Now,
And
what
then
about the universe?
10?
10.
10. I think there has to be other life in other planets. It's just so
Maybe paradox.
billions of planets. It's got to be more. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you're at. You're 0-10.
Okay.
All right, so the final is also a two-parter. We are starting with ghosts, physical apparitions. Just picture a ghost, Ghostbuster you've seen the movies. The second part is spirits. Do we have some sort of connection? Do spirits have their ability to interact with this realm? And are there different realms? Where are you guys at?
The crowd?
4-9.
4-9.
Gotta blame the thumb. Okay. 7-7. 1-1. Ooh.
And change it up. 0-10.
0-10.
Mm-hmm.
I think George has stories. I think I'm going to go.
If you have a story, you
I'm gonna
must
go, yeah,
tell.
you got to tell it. But that's where
I'll tell you a great story about a ghost story for me later.
So,
on.
so last week we had Jeff Hogan on, the owner of Crux Cigars.
All right.
He could have went all night telling us ghost stories, and his shit
dude
was
had
bizarre.
ghost stories.
We need him back for
So
Yeah.
for sure. So we have. I'm going to say 6 on the ghost, and I'm going to go 10 on the spiritual connection.
That's a 10-10, Bob. 10-10.
All right.
Where you at?
So 0 on the ghost.
Fuck.
And 10 on the spirit.
Boom.
But what's the ghost story?
All right, so the ghost story. Here's the ghost story.
He obviously doesn't believe it.
No, well, this is the funniest ghost story that ever happened to me. So,
And he's still a 0?
yeah. Oh no. So here's the story. I was staying in my daughter's room because I was gonna go bike riding the next day on a Saturday. So I was laying in bed and I felt something touch me, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And then I was scared, like those kids where you get the sheet, and I was like, shit, and I was scared, and I turned around and I looked, there was nothing there. And I was like, what the fuck? All right, I'm just gonna go back to bed. I gotta go bike riding in a couple of hours. Let me just try to get as much sleep. Then I felt something touch me here.
Oh, fuck.
And I was like, holy shit. And I looked and there was nothing. There's just nothing. So then I covered myself and I laid in bed like this.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't go back to sleep. And then the alarm rang and I took off and I left. And I went bike riding. One of my teammates, I was riding with them and I was explaining to her, hey, something happened to me. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to tell my wife there's ghosts at the house. And we're going to have to move because I leave
Burn the house.
Yeah, no, because I leave for trips and I'm out, a lot of the time and she's not going to be able to stay there. And she was like, oh, I don't believe you, this and that. And I was like, I don't know, I'm going to have to go. So then I went back home and I had breakfast with the family. And I told my wife, I was like, I manned up and I told her, like, listen, this is what happened to me this morning. I felt a ghost and I don't know what we're going to do. And my wife started laughing like crazy. Turns out it was her touching me, fucking with me that night. And then she just couldn't laugh. So I was so scared that it was a ghost. And it was the first time I've ever experienced a ghost. She was hiding underneath the bed. And both times it was her. And then she goes up to me. She's like, I have to tell this man because if not, he's going to fucking die.
Burning the house down.
So
Yeah.
that was
You
the
should've told me
greatest prank
sooner.
they ever did on me.
Oh.
For like 4 hours, I was shitting my pants.
How was your bike ride?
I'm sorry?
How was your bike ride?
Super
No,
fast.
I was nervous the whole time.
the whole
So that's why I don't believe in ghosts.
Okay, so this I got to tell you my ghost story.
You have a ghost story?
Yeah, just this weekend.
What?
So my
Really?
wife,
At your house?
yeah,
In Frisco?
yes.
We
And
just
what's
killed a
crazy
dog
is-
in that house.
What's crazy is we talk about this. We talk about ghosts every week. So I dealt with it so matter of fact. But this is no shit.
Training.
So
Yeah.
my wife is in Chicago. It's just me and our 2 dogs. That's it. We just put a dog down 2 weeks ago. It was just the 2 of it all week. She got home this morning. So she had a box that was delivered, and it was sitting on the table in my home office. And yesterday, I come walking through, and I had seen it earlier. I looked at this box all week. I knew what it was. It was a birthday present she bought for herself. It was sitting in the box. I didn't open it. I didn't touch it. Nothing. I walked through the house yesterday. It's on the floor, sitting on the floor. Nobody's been in the house. Then I started thinking, well, you guys came over for dinner. Maybe the kids took it and put it on the floor. So I kind of wrote it off. But
You didn't?
it was on the floor. And it's funny because I just picked it up, set it up there, and I went, I guess we got ghosts. And I just walked out of the room, and it was just nothing. Because we talk about it all the time. It was just like, okay, well, if that's what happened, that's what happened. If the kids picked the box up and set it down on the floor, I don't know
The
why they
kids
would do
can't
that.
reach it.
That's just it. It was just, but it was on the floor. And I just picked it up and set it back on the table, and
So your house is
we got
haunted now.
ghosts. Now I'm going to tell my wife, and she's going to want to burn the house down.
I think for me, what it is that like the spiritual side of it, I think we're interconnected with whatever we are. I mean, you have great personality, great energy, and that transfers over, you know. So even though we're gone, there is some energy left.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's ghosts.
Yep.
Yeah.
But overall, you could feel it when you walk into a room that, you know, if you went into an old movie theater, the memories, all that energy still stays there.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's burned onto the wood or the building or whatever.
Yep.
But I don't think necessarily are there ghosts. I just think we leave energy behind.
Sure.
And I think that's the spiritual side that we look at.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion on it.
I agree.
If I see a ghost, I'll let you guys know, and then I'll shit my pants.
With that,
Well, your wife made it all the way to the top of
Oh
the
my
list.
God! Listen,
'cause,
let me tell you,
that's
she laughed
awesome.
for like a minute, and I was like, "What the fuck's her problem?" And then she told me. I was like, "Such a relief." Such a relief.
That's great.
George Rico, thank you so much for being
I
here.
appreciate it.
Means
Thank
the
you
world
for
to
having
us.
me. I love you guys. Thank you.
We appreciate
you
it.
guys are very supportive. The people here are just great, and I always have a great time. I look
Excellent.
forward to tomorrow.
Tomorrow
We
night.
look forward to tomorrow.
If you're in the Frisco area, if not, jump on a plane. Come on down. We're gonna mic him up. We're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be a blast tomorrow night. So come on in.
That's going to be good.
Link in bio for tickets
Will be broadcast live.
Excellent.
on Tales from the Lounge.
Nice.
Adrian, sign us off as always.
Hey, catch us every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. for Cigar Talk Live. In a couple of weeks, I think we're changing it up.
rebranding, baby.
Branding
Yeah.
it.
Excited for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
Peace.
Saturday.
Peace out.
See you Saturday.
Adios. Thanks, suckers.